Story 1. Your first job after college can pigeonhole you for the rest of your career. For example, if you earn a biology degree and take a supply chain position at a biotechnology company, it can become difficult to find a lab-based role later. Over time, your experience will center on supply chain work and your technical laboratory skills may atrophy. Story 2. Settling down with the wrong person. I'm 30, and I've seen many people's partners slowly erode their enjoyment of life. Story 3. Thinking it is too late to do something. Start a new career path, leave an abusive partnership, go back to school, start a garden, and so on. The ideal time may have been years ago. The second best time is right now. Story 4. Making decisions to please or impress others, even when it is not what you really want. Story 5. Credit card debt. It is amazing how quickly it can build, and as a young person you may assume you will just pay it off. In reality, if you are not careful, it can become overwhelming. Story 6. I understand there is good and bad in everything, and that moderation matters. Some people thrive with children, and even things like credit cards can be useful if you are smart about them, but they can also easily become traps. For me, one of the biggest traps no one really warns you about is social media, especially apps such as TikTok and Instagram. They affect your dopamine, attention span, self-esteem, and relationships. It is so easy to block, unfollow, or replace people at the first sign of conflict or disagreement instead of learning to communicate, commit, and work through issues. There is an overload of opinions and advice that can leave you confused or disconnected from your own judgment. I am still hooked on it myself and can see both the good and the bad. But it is a massive influence on young people's lives now and not always in a healthy way. Story 7. Lifestyle creep. You get a raise and immediately upgrade your apartment or your car, locking yourself into a higher cost of living. No one tells you that saving your raise is the only way to become financially free. Who else is still stuck in this vicious cycle? Story 8. What was hot in the job market 10 years ago is probably oversaturated now. Story 9. An ounce of prevention really is worth a pound of cure. Use sunscreen, keep indulgences moderate, stretch regularly, eat fiber, stay hydrated, and take care of your teeth. Your bed should be an investment. Not necessarily more expensive, but the best quality for your body that you can get. Always remember to moderate pleasure seeking. Too much is almost as harmful as too little. Pleasure is an intrinsic part of a healthy psyche, and it is good to do things solely for sensory pleasure, not necessarily erotic. If you are regular and thoughtful about it, you will be less likely to overindulge simply because you have the opportunity. Story 10. You are so focused on achievement that you forget to enjoy life. Story 11. Materialism. Trying to keep up with the Joneses will only keep you in debt and insecure. It's not having what you want. It's wanting what you have. Story 12. There are many people around me who never travel and work themselves to death. It is sad. Even a weekend getaway to a state park can do wonders for resetting how you feel mentally. Sometimes they say they will travel when they retire, but you do not know if you will be here, and your health will likely be worse than it is now. Story 13. Young people are often told to hustle nonstop, skip rest, or overcommit to appear productive. But this can burn out their body and mind long before they achieve meaningful success. Story 14. You might think you need to work your way up the corporate ladder at the same company. Switching jobs can help you move up more quickly. The entrepreneurial route also pays off in many ways when you can afford to take some smart risks. Story 15. This is not a trap. Many people need to take marriage seriously. It is not just a one-off party for posting pictures on Pinterest. Story 16. One of the worst decisions you can make in life is marrying or having children with a bad or very irresponsible person. Most people do not know how to manage debt and should avoid it altogether, except perhaps a house and a car. When it comes to investing and retirement, time can be either your best friend or your biggest concern. Generally, the earlier you start, the better. Story 17. Trying to look rich through debt will not make you happy or wealthy. However, being in debt will make the top 10% richer. Story 18. Working long hours can disable or kill you. At 43, after more than a decade of working 70 to 90 hours per week, I had a massive stroke that left me half paralyzed, partially blind, and incontinent. It is now known that long working hours contribute to stroke risk. Be careful when your employer asks you to sign a long hours waiver or insists it is a requirement for the job. I applied my work ethic to my recovery, and 9 years after the stroke, I completed my first half marathon on foot. Story 19. Try not to gain weight when life throws you a curveball. Losing weight becomes much harder as you get older. Try to maintain a healthy weight or stay within a healthy range, and you will find aging much easier to manage. Story 20. I think the power imbalance is worse if you are short or look younger. I am in my early 20s and have just started working in preschool education. The way older, more experienced teachers treated me at times affected me more than I anticipated. I feel I constantly must prove I have something to offer, and I am struggling with this. Story 21. People having children without giving it any actual thought is risky. I did not have children and do not want any, but one friend had 2 before turning 22 and he is absolutely miserable and struggling financially. If you want to have children early, that is fine. Just give it some thought. Parenthood is not something you can undo when it becomes difficult. Story 22. Daily basics are what matter. Do not cling to milestones or spectacle. Believing that once you reach a particular goal you will be happy is an illusion. Brush your teeth and do not think about things you are not currently doing. Story 23. That brief moment in your mid-20s when you think you've finally got it all figured out is a lie. The universe is just reloading. Next thing you know, your back makes a dial-up noise and you have to Google what an escrow is. Story 24. Student loans are incredibly predatory. Story 25. It is easier to burn through your principal than to build it up. Take fewer risks when it comes to finance. Slow and steady wins the race, and you have plenty of time. Story 26. The kitchen counter has become the official island of misfit mail. It starts with one takeout menu, and suddenly it is a 3-inch sedimentary layer of coupons, bills, and a single mysterious key. Story 27. Finally being able to afford the good version of something, only to realize you're now too scared to actually use it. My fancy towels are for guests who don't exist. My nice pans are for special occasions. My entire adult life is a museum of things I'm terrified of ruining. Story 28. Having children too early, even if you want them, is a huge mistake. I cannot emphasize enough how disruptive a small child requiring your attention can be during the first few years of marriage or adult life. Story 29. Your vehicle is for transportation, not fashion or status. Story 30. That first cool office job with a ping-pong table and unlimited free snacks quickly teaches you that you cannot pay rent with stale pretzels and the hollow feeling of being part of a family. Story 31. Do not keep hanging out with a group where you constantly feel you have to prove your worth. Everyone on Reddit will tell you to self-reflect and blame yourself, but sometimes a person is simply surrounded by jerks. Only foolish people assume the majority is always right by default. If the people around you treat you poorly, get away from them. It will be like they never existed. Start over, even if slowly, from a foundation where people do not impose the identity of weak, unwanted loser on you. It is better to be alone than to be with people who make you feel alone. Story 32. Financial advisors, even if they only charge 2 to 3%, that is still a significant amount of your returns for the year. Can add up to hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Manage your own money. If you are not interested in learning about investments, buy index funds. Story 33. Thinking love will fix someone won't work, and trying usually breaks you. Story 34. Please do not give children lottery tickets for Christmas or suggest that gambling is fun or harmless. Story 35. Taking a well-paying job with odd hours is entering at your own risk, especially if you're single. Story 36. When I was younger, I thought older adults had everything figured out. Later, I realized that no one does and everyone is winging it. That can be helpful for young people to know. Story 37. Staying in a job you hate just because it is comfortable. Comfort can be a cage. Story 38. Sometimes it's not worth pursuing a higher position at work if it will consume more hours of your day. Staying where you are is perfectly fine. Story 39. Failing to save or invest can be costly. Even if it is only £10 a month, over about 40 years it builds up. Story 40. Student loans. You are encouraged not to have credit card debt and to obtain a degree. But the cost of some degrees can leave you in a life of indentured servitude, so really examine how much you are likely to earn and compare that to your expected monthly payments. When I applied for student loans, I asked my mother how much my monthly payments would be. She said about $400, but they ended up being $1,000 a month. That difference was the deciding factor between affording my own place and having to live at home. Story 41. When you leave your career for a few years to raise your children, it is very hard to return. If you do, you often start at the bottom and must work your way up again. Story 42. College or university is no longer an absolute requirement for getting ahead in life. You do not necessarily need higher education. Often it is worth learning outside these institutions while working to build work experience. Anecdotal, of course, but I have seen far more post-high school success among people who entered apprenticeships or learned a trade. Most people I know who entered higher education are either unemployed or largely disconnected from the field they studied, myself included. Story 43. Politicians promise fast solutions to complex problems and blame a small group of people who are easy to suppress. Illegal immigrants are the cause of all murders. Trans people are raping all our children. Abortion is the cause of the fall of piety. That's a fascist trying to seize power. Story 44. For those planning to attend college, it is much cheaper to earn prerequisite general education credits at a community college. Check which credits will transfer and take as many summer classes as you can to save thousands of dollars. University tuition is difficult to justify. When much of the value comes from networking and self-directed learning, you are unlikely to form meaningful connections in an introductory mathematics course. If you have hobbies, join community groups or clubs outside the university. Be efficient with your studies and save your money. Story 45. Porn addiction is often considered taboo, so people rarely discuss the dangers of letting it take over their lives. Story 46. The idea that a middle manager will become a chief executive officer or join the chief executive ranks is rarely true. You will usually continue working for upper-class people, with only a small chance to sit at the decision-making table. The Peter Principle is real. Story 47. That first adult furniture purchase makes you feel so accomplished. Then you have to move for the third time, and that particle board bookshelf now has the structural integrity of a wet graham cracker. Story 48. Fucking credit cards. I went most of my life without one. My previous husband got one and racked up $12,000 in a few months. I never used it. He died a couple of years ago, still owing that balance. Since there was never a card with my name on it and my name was not on any of his accounts, the bank absorbed the loss. Thank goodness. Don't start using credit cards. That $12,000 would have taken the rest of my life. I could not have paid more than the minimum. Story 49. Do not become a stay-at-home spouse. You will ruin your life for something no one cares about as an adult. Story 50. Materialism or lifestyle creep will destroy you. Live within your means. Children are expensive. Research how much it costs to raise a child and provide an adequate standard of living. If your partner wants a child and you cannot afford it, recognize that you will likely be working much harder for the rest of your life with limited personal reward beyond providing for the child. Financial strain can also lead to separation, and no matter how good a parent you are, a child may distance themselves or be unable or unwilling to support you in old age. Working toward a better future does not necessarily mean having more money. See the above warning about lifestyle creep. Finding peace with your life now is often better than constantly grinding for a better tomorrow. To be honest, these 3 points are essentially the same. Story 51. It is all a trap. There is no way out except death. It is about accepting the trap and not giving a fuck. Story 52. That free trial you forgot to cancel will catch up with you. One day you will check your bank account and see a $12.99 charge for Quackafax Premium, and you will just have to sit there and accept your new life as a reluctant Quacka expert. Story 53. People often focus on whether they can afford the monthly payments when buying a car and take out 7-year loans for vehicles much more expensive than they should have bought. I have seen several people finance cars with a manufacturer's suggested retail price higher than their annual wages. One was an 18-year-old with a $66,000 truck. He made it work because he lives with his parents and does not pay rent. Another was a mother working part-time at McDonald's who apparently needed a large Suburban. A used crossover or minivan would have been more practical. Story 54. Do not have a child with someone unless you are extremely confident you can spend the rest of your life with that person. Story 55. Social drinking is common. Many people consume alcohol in their 20s, but if they do not reduce their use, they are likely to develop health problems. Story 56. Working too much in your youth, only to find that you have money but not much else in your 30s. Story 57. That first time you throw your back out while sneezing, you laugh it off, but deep down you hear the final boss music starting to fade in. Welcome to the rest of your life. Story 58. Pension. Don't wait to start contributing. Contribute as much as you can as early as possible. In the UK, every workplace must offer a pension plan, and almost all will match your contributions up to a monthly limit. Make sure you contribute enough to receive the full employer match. Your employer may not set your contribution to that level automatically. Story 59. Getting that first real salary and immediately upgrading your lifestyle to match it. Congratulations, you are now just as broke as you were in college, but with nicer furniture and a deeper, more existential kind of anxiety. Story 60. Do not lend people money expecting to be repaid. I used to lend money often, and most people were good about paying me back. My sister was one of them. Almost every month she asked for what was essentially a paycheck advance because her pay schedule did not align with her bills. One month she asked to borrow money as usual but did not mention that she had quit her job over a petty argument. Long story short, I am never getting my $2,000 back. 3 years later she still asks for money, and every time she does I am furious at how she treated me and the rest of my family. She was the family member I was closest to, and now I cannot stand her, which would not have happened if I had not tried to help. Also, marijuana played a large part in problems on her side, which ruined my enjoyment of it and angers me. Story 61. Currently, the number one priority for young people making education or career decisions should be choosing a job that artificial intelligence cannot perform. Story 62. Whatever you do, never buy a zebra, no matter how cheap it is. Story 63. If you are lucky enough to graduate into a poor economy, you do not get pigeonholed into a career. Story 64. Car repairs can put you into credit card debt. Take care of your cars, people. Maintenance is important. Story 65. Tying yourself too tightly to one location can limit your opportunities. Sometimes it is hard to avoid this. For example, some jobs are credentialed at the state level. If you can remain only lightly attached to your locale, many more job opportunities open up. Story 66. Thinking you'll always have money because you have a job. Let's say you budget and it looks like after everything you'll have $100 of disposable cash. You say screw it and buy something expensive. The next day you get a random bill or a letter from the Internal Revenue Service about back taxes. For the love of the goddess, young people, save your money. Story 67. Buying based on emotion rather than need and failing to recognize it. Yes, that car looks like an X-Wing and can reach 160 miles per hour, but you commute on a congested highway that averages 42 miles per hour. You will never go off-roading on Slick Rock. You go to the store twice a week. Buying military specification yellow glasses does not make you see Air and Land Team 6. Story 68. Often it is not that young people are not warned, but that no one gets through to them. This can happen for various reasons. Story 69. People pressure young girls and women to have children at a young age, or to have children at all, and they lie about how much suffering it involves. They portray it as sunshine and rainbows. Story 70. A well-paid job you hate is not worth the money. Happiness, or simply not being miserable at work, is priceless. Story 71. My answer may be a bad one because I was probably warned about this but ignored it because youth, trademark, It is the trap of thinking you have so much time to do everything you want to do. You do it first, and then before you know it, you are 40 and wondering what happened. It happens so fast. You are young, and then suddenly you are older and think, what the hell? I was just a kid. How did it happen so fast? Story 72. You might think you need to have your whole life figured out by 25, but you do not. Everyone is just improvising with different levels of confidence. Story 73. By the time the previous generation tells you what worked for them, it is too late unless they are inviting you to something happening right then. Expecting a degree to guarantee a job or insisting on meeting the manager to get hired were tactics of the original dot-com boom, a once-in-a-lifetime set of events you cannot recreate. Do not ignore all advice, of course, but be wary. Story 74. Credit and credit cards. Learn how they work and how easily they can harm you. Story 75. The need to always be in a relationship can be dangerous. If you get involved with the wrong person, it can change the entire course of your life. Story 76. For-profit schools present themselves as specialized community colleges, but they can keep you in debt for most of your adult life, well into middle age. Do not accept private loans. They are often nearly impossible to discharge. Story 77. Credit card debt. A high-interest credit card paid off by making only the minimum monthly payments can cost you 10 times as much. Story 78. Student loans are nearly impossible to discharge, even through bankruptcy. I received mine at around 6.5% interest, so I am basically indebted for life. Story 79. The need for things and the exploitative nature of the fear of missing out are harmful. Latest trends, gacha or blind boxes, and collectible toys like Labubus and Funko Pops are designed to be little piranhas that nibble away at your money. Story 80. That money is required and nobody will give it to you. You mostly waste your time at school, and your time is precious, so you should start generating a stable income before the end of your studies. Story 81. Do not fall for a multi-level marketing scheme. If this opportunity requires you to spend your own money first, it is, in fact, too good to be true. Story 82. Banks may change overdraft terms, claiming to help you, and leave you bankrupt. Story 83. Listening to peers who say reject hustle culture and work to live, but taking that to mean do the minimum to get by, can leave you in midlife with no savings, no meaningful assets, and a career of dead-end jobs you regret. Find work that satisfies you. You spend about 40 hours a week working. You should not waste that time on something you dislike. Find work you can do well so you are paid what you are worth. Economic value is usually based on skill, not on willingness to endure something you hate. Think of it like vegetables. Don't eat vegetables you hate. Eat enough to stay healthy. Find vegetables you love and combine them with other foods you enjoy. Story 84. Cars are a complete waste of money, and no one cares what you drive. Design your lifestyle to minimize transportation costs. Story 85. A lot of friendships are situational. Just because you were childhood neighbors or drank together in college does not mean they need to stay in your life forever. This is not to say you should drop all your friends, but if someone is negatively impacting your life, causing drama, treating you badly, or making you dread being around them, it is okay to distance yourself. Do not stay in a bad crowd out of obligation. Story 86. Believing you have more time than you actually do to start living. Story 87. The just-for-now piece of furniture. 10 years later, you are explaining to guests why your TV is still perched on a wobbly bookshelf held together by hope and a single prayer. Story 88. Internships are invaluable. Do not think a summer of fun is more important than the opportunity an internship provides. Story 89. Everything is a subscription now. Your software, your car's heated seats, your razors. At this point, I'm just waiting for my toaster to demand $4.99 per month for the extra crispy setting. Story 90. School. You think you will pay off the debt when you get a job in your field, but you may not get such a job. Interest accumulates constantly. If you do not use your skills, you lose them. Things change, and what you learned may no longer be enough. If you have not used your skills for a long time, you may feel insecure about your techniques. Story 91. A person with nothing will make you lose everything. Story 92, credit card debt, loan debt, the financial setbacks of divorce, and so on. Story 93, making a major life decision based on saving the relationship, such as buying a house together, getting pregnant, eloping or getting married, or bringing a third or fourth person into the relationship. Story 94, there is a trap in being told that if you work hard at a job you will be successful and promoted. More often, working hard only means doing three people's jobs for the same pay 98% of the time. Story 95, your partner's problems can ruin your life, and falling in love makes it really hard to objectively assess how serious those problems may be. Story 96, a lack of passion and curiosity will make you feel trapped in whatever you do. Story 97, do not stop networking when you are doing well because you think you do not need it. People are friendly until you need something, and then you discover you did not stay in touch. Story 98, do not assume that staying at one company for a long time will guarantee rewards for your loyalty. This does not mean you should change jobs frequently. Be strategic. Your employer can find someone who can do your job better, faster, and at lower cost. Contribute and learn, and leave when you no longer receive what you deserve. Story 99, staying in a relationship you know has no future is not fair to either person. Story 100, starting college at 18 and taking out tens of thousands of dollars in student loans while having no idea what the job you are pursuing looks like on a daily basis. Story 101, financing or leasing a new vehicle absolutely kills young people's potential to save and invest. Story 102, I worked my way through college, so I did not have a chance to do internships during my sophomore, junior, or senior years. After college, I had two choices. 1. Keep working at the job where I had 4 years of experience, even though it was not in my major. 2. Start over in a career related to my major with no practical experience and apply for jobs cold. Internships are valuable. Unless you have the time and money to pursue them, it can be difficult to enter that industry later. Many people do not warn young buyers about purchasing a house without sufficient savings. Home ownership carries many hidden costs in both money and time. Deciding between a traditional 401k plan, a Roth 401k plan, or an individual retirement account can seem straightforward. Contributing to a traditional 401k plan lowers your taxable income while saving for the future. However, when you reach age 55, you may need to consider withdrawals or Roth conversions, and that process can be complicated and extremely annoying. Story 103, being the outstanding employee will not get you a raise, a promotion, or even real appreciation from your company. What it will get you is more work. Being in the middle of the pack is the place to be. If your boss's boss does not know your name, you are doing it right. Story 104, many people are talking about the traps of social media, including young people, older people, and tech-savvy people. Few listen. Some know it is a trap and still choose to get caught because the cheese is too alluring. Story 105, if you're doing it right, pets are a greater responsibility than you can imagine. Jobs must be scheduled around them, which can trap you in low-paid, flexible-hour work. For some, it's worth the sacrifice. Story 106, you should do everything possible to avoid debt, which is often difficult or impossible because the entire system is set up to push you into debt in order to progress. Story 107, lots of great stuff here. I'm going to focus on partying and doing drugs, obvious, right? The fact is it is pretty normalized and it can be a lot of fun. You are with fun, cool people and you go to all the parties. You have cool friends and it is considered lame to be a normie. You feel awakened and spiritual. You believe the universe has a plan. Then you hit 40. Suddenly people are gone, you feel old, your body cannot keep up, and you feel out of place. You are literally and figuratively the last person at the afters, and that is just sad. Be really careful with the party lifestyle. You blink and suddenly you have far fewer options than you would like in life. At least you were a legend. Story 108. Pick something and pursue it. We build our lives around what we do, not the other way around. If you wait for the right thing, you will wait your entire life. Story 109. Young people are warned about drug use and sexual grooming, but not about how drug dealers groom and exploit vulnerable young people. Story 110. It can be a lie to say, do what you love and the money will follow. Story 111. People warn young people about credit cards and other forms of debt, such as loans and so on, but few explain that the difficulty is not just repaying what you borrowed. It is also repaying the interest, which accumulates very quickly and can make it hard to reduce the principal. For example, if you have $7,000 in credit card debt and the minimum payment is $350, a large portion of that payment may go toward interest, so you might only be reducing the principal by $50. I wish there were more education about how this works instead of simply saying do not use credit cards or do not get into debt. Story 112. You become complacent with your friend group. Often they hold you back and do not uplift you, but you stay because you are afraid to leave. Story 113. You would be surprised how many people still fall victim to payday loan companies. Do not use them, not even once. Story 114. If you base your life goals on what society and your family tell you to, you are not trying to build the life you want. You get one chance at life, but other people will try to make decisions for you. You are the one who has to live with the consequences. Story 115. Start saving immediately. Contribute to an employer-sponsored retirement plan at minimum. Create a budget and save whatever you can, even $5. Avoid taking on excessive debt and be mindful of what you finance and why. If your car breaks down and cannot be repaired, look for a newer used car and finance it for as short a term as you can. If you can obtain 0% financing, choose the longest term that still makes financial sense. Do not finance televisions, stereos, or other unnecessary items. Buy only what you can afford or save up for purchases. Story 116. Payday loans. Debt consolidation scams. Hiring and task scams. Lottery and sweepstakes scams. Ponzi, pyramid, and multilevel marketing schemes and other investment scams. Relationship and impersonation scams. Wage and tip theft. Phishing scams targeting the Internal Revenue Service, the Department of Motor Vehicles, your extended warranty, and others. There should be a high school class that tells students that, as adults, people will relentlessly try to scam them and teaches how to identify and handle each type. Story 117. You will not be happy all the time or even most of the time. Thinking you will or should is unrealistic. You might be content often, and that is valuable. You are far better off finding meaning, feeling that the things you do with your life matter. While that may not bring happiness in the way many people expect, it makes your life worth living and makes the highs and lows worth it because those highs and lows cannot be avoided and should not be avoided. We spend far too much time, especially when we are young, chasing constant happiness. That pursuit causes more pain than it removes. Story 118. Being aware of hyperconsumerism as a concept from an early age can do a lot of good and help people recognize and avoid many traps. Consuming goods for the sake of consuming goods and attaching one's identity and emotions to those goods can blur priorities, turning genuine needs into mere wants and simple wants into urgent needs. Example: I should probably get this tooth looked at, but a pop star announced her latest tour and tickets are limited. I tell myself I must go because I am a fan. Even though tickets cost $300 each, I buy them now and postpone saving for the dentist. This way of thinking is harmful, and large parts of the internet reinforce it, often through fan clubs or large, abstract social groups that make participants feel like they are part of a community. None of it is healthy. Much of it is a pale imitation of what it replaces, such as traditional socializing, and it eventually becomes needlessly expensive because the goal is to get people to buy things impulsively for the sake of buying them. Story 119. Living with a partner sounds like a great idea to save on rent and very romantic when it is your first serious relationship. But if you do not have a backup plan or family or friends nearby, it can be one of the worst decisions you could ever make. Story 120. Debt is rarely a good idea, especially revolving credit such as credit cards. Treat it like an untrained, dangerous animal. Use it sparingly and always have an exit plan. Story 121. Focusing on any jackpot scenario, a goal believed to provide a big payout that will remove the need for a job is unwise. Spending your 20s building a music career is great. Chasing big record deals that do not exist is not smart. Story 122. Do not be loyal to an employer. They are not loyal to you. Your primary responsibility is to yourself and your family. You work for them, not for your current employer. Story 123. Getting a degree and going into debt may not make sense when a trades position can be more enjoyable and lets you start earning right away. Story 124. Tolerating toxic friends for the brief dopamine hits you get when you are with them. I tolerated years of toxic friends in college. People who never returned favors. They were not there when my dad died, when my mental health was at its lowest, when my life fell apart, or when my ex cheated. They never checked in, never called, not even a text message. Yet I was always the reliable friend. Toxic friends can ruin your life. Story 125. The one that got me was not having a credit card. My whole life I heard online, at school, and in movies and television shows about the woes of debt, and specifically credit cards. I always thought I was being financially smart by simply never getting one. Even when I bought my first 2 cars, I paid in full with cash. No debt, no problem. A few years ago, in my early 30s, I was pressured into buying a house. I had about $70,000 in my bank account, and my budget was around $250,000. I eventually found a place that was perfect for my needs, and it was time to get a loan. It turned out that having no credit history made that quite difficult. It did not matter that I could make a 40% down payment or that I had a stable, well-paying career. I ended up taking a loan with an interest rate nearly 2 percentage points higher than if I had a perfect credit score, although I was able to pay $5,000 to reduce the rate a little. 2 percentage points might not sound like much, but over 30 years it will cost me tens of thousands of dollars. So get a credit card, enable automatic payments, and do not spend money you do not have. My card gives me 3% cash back on all purchases. I have been losing money my whole life by not using a credit card. Story 126. This is especially for young men right now. People will inflate your ego and tell you that women, minorities, or whoever are keeping you down and that you are entitled to what those groups supposedly have. These people are likely trying to sell you something or use you as the product. Go outside. Meet people outside your usual circles. Strike up conversations, join an activity group, volunteer to improve your community, and travel if you can. Talking to a wider range of people will broaden your mind, help you grow, reveal things about yourself you never knew, and ultimately make you happier. Online information channels want you to stay angry and afraid. Spend time outdoors occasionally. It is good for you. Story 127. The reciprocity paradox. You meet a cool person. You like them. They ask you for a favor, maybe to borrow money or your car. You do the favor. You would think they would then want to return it, but studies show a different pattern. You are more likely to do them another favor, and another, eventually creating a one-sided relationship. They get used to your help and come to expect it. Why do you keep doing favors? Because you want to protect their image of you. They see you as a helper and you like that. If you suddenly stop, you would be incongruent with the image you presented, so you keep saying yes. Establish boundaries early and be willing to walk away from one-sided friendships and relationships. If people are not reaching out, participating in your life, or helping when needed, they are not worth your time. Being as nice as possible will not change that. Story 128. Smoking, vaping, drinking alcohol, recreational drugs, and coffee. Anything that artificially alters your mental state. Story 129. Do not stay with people who always tell you what you want to hear. It will damage your self-esteem. Story 130. Student loans and marriage. Also working very hard for the wrong people. Everyone is replaceable, and you will not get the wasted time back. Story 131. If adulthood seems better than childhood, enjoy it. It only gets worse. I wish I could be innocent again. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.